Hello, and thank you for joining me for another video. And for some reason, friends, there has been a lot of talk online with people lately publicly, angrily opposing me because of what I believe and teach, just on the basis that they do not agree. And you know what? That's fine. People don't have to agree with everything I teach. However, friends, the problem begins when this objection to my work gets reworded, not as Rabbi Asher just holds by a different understanding of a certain halachic or hashkafic issue, but instead that Rabbi Asher is teaching heretical ideas, or that Rabbi Asher, if they even give me the courtesy to call me rabbi, is deliberately misleading or inventing his own religion. All this without a challenge or careful analysis of my sources. And friends, I know that sometimes it is hard knowing what I believe and teach, mainly because I give lots of lectures and they almost never cover the same exact topic twice. So friends, today I'm going to break down what I teach and believe so that people, if they are going to judge or critique me, could do it more accurately. So we'll start with conversion. Many have stated that Rabbi Asher makes up his own standards for conversion. Now, this is solely built on the basis that what I teach on the issue is not what is practiced today. And friends, for this I must remind you of the notion that only because something is not done today does not mean it is wrong or not sanctioned by Torah or Halakha. Actually, this form of thinking arose by an unfounded notion that modern rabbis do not make mistakes, or that only because some rabbi says something today that it in some way rewrites Torah and Halakha. Well, friends, this is obviously not the way Judaism functions. For example, I proselytize, and as many also know, I do not hide my beliefs on this issue. And I know that to many this may sound heretical, when, Judaism, as you know, never taught against this. So what's the problem? Oh, what, that your rabbi told you that it's not allowed in Judaism? Well, did you ever ask your rabbi, where does it state this? Did you ever ask if this was halakha or just tradition or custom? And if just a custom, when did it begin? Well, the truth is that there is not, nor has ever been, a prohibition against proselytizing in the Jewish world, neither in Torah nor in any Mishnaic, hashkafic, nor halachic source. And my friends, I honestly believe that your rabbi knows this very well. As a matter of fact, there are actually many sources that teach that it is actually a good thing to do, which is, as you know, is what I believe and teach. And in my opinion, was also the belief held by most of our Torah leaders throughout history. But again, apart from the many historical sources that can attest to this fact, this is ultimately, from a practical level, just my personal opinion. Not that I would ever say that if a Jew did not actively encourage non-Jews to become Jewish, that they would deliberately be breaking some halakha. However, what rabbis do not have the right to do is to call me a heretic for encouraging people to do so based on logic. Again, because it is a fact that there was never a prohibition not to do so in Judaism, in Torah, nor halakha. And yes, I teach that most Jews throughout history did proselytize, but at least not publicly, mainly because for the last 3,000 years, it has been hazardous to our existence. But not because of Judaism, but solely because of the outside world fighting back against it, and not because, like I said, Jews thought it was a bad idea. Which actually only began post the 13th century, based on some Kabbalistic notion of non-Jews being intrinsically spiritually inferior. Also, friends, what does the word proselytize really mean to you? Because I have a feeling that people understand it to mean something that it really does not mean. In other words, for some crazy reason, many people think that it means forced conversions. Well, friends, it doesn't. It just means encouraging others to consider what you believe, and that's it. In other words, they could take it or leave it. If we believe something to be true, if we truly believe that Torah is goodness codified, why not spread it? It seems very ethically logical to do so, right? It's nothing to attack me about. Because I'm sure you agree that the world would be a better place if we had more Torah-keeping Jews within it. Especially nowadays when the fastest growing religion is Islam. Friends, I've said it before and I'll say it again, that the only way you defeat bad religion is with good religion, not with no religion. And no, the spreading of the primitive 7 laws of Noah does not and will not make this world any better or ever compete with Islam. Next, they say that I believe in quick conversions. And to that I have to ask the question, does anyone know how long a conversion is supposed to take according to halakha? Again, because this will determine whether Rabbi Asher is making up his own Judaism or the modern rabbis are. Well, the answer is brought down in halakha. It states that if a person comes and is sincere, it takes 1 day if the person is a female or a male who's already circumcised, up to 30 days if the male is not circumcised. And this is only to let the wound of the circumcision heal so as not to act as a separation in the mikvah. Now, I have never converted anyone that quickly for many different reasons, but I'm not going to say that teaching so is against Judaism. The truth is, friends, that people do not study halakha anymore, and this is specifically true for rabbis. In other words, they live and practice traditions that only go back a few hundred years and never question if what they're doing is halakhically correct or at least sanctioned within halakha. Now, mind you, some rabbis have even outlawed conversion completely in their communities on no halachic basis, or have begun nullifying conversions, which, I don't have to tell you, appears nowhere in halakha. And you know what? I actually heard the story the other day on how someone who converted with an Orthodox rabbi, which at the time was recognized by the Israeli rabbinate as one allowed to perform conversions. Well, anyways, this kid eventually died and was buried in a Jewish cemetery with a Jewish funeral. And later on, the Israeli rabbinate chose to disqualify that rabbi from performing conversions. And then what did the community do? The community nullified that kid's conversions because they said, we no longer recognize this rabbi because the Israeli rabbinate doesn't recognize him either. And what else did they do? They dug up his body and moved it to a non-Jewish cemetery. Do you hear what I'm telling you? Have you ever wondered why no other rabbi mentions this? But Rabbi Asher is the questionable one, caught up in his own ego. Honestly, the only difference between them and I is that I haven't prostituted myself for recognition and a paycheck. Not to mention the fact that they do not even let non-Jews enter their synagogues to pray in places like South America and virtually 95% of the known world. Did you hear me? That they don't let people enter their synagogues to pray to the Almighty. Honestly, do you have to be a convert to feel for them or just be ethical? Also, do you have to be a convert to travel to places where people have been living like Torah Jews for decades, but have not been able to convert because the rabbis in their area banned it? And these people are Torah-observant individuals who, again, are not even allowed to enter the local synagogue to pray. And if they insist, they get arrested. So, what do? I go and I convert them and I help them start their own communities and their own synagogues. And I'm the one starting my own religion. And no, that this is a practice almost completely spearheaded by groups like Chabad, which is one of the main reasons I oppose their ideology. And regarding groups like Chabad and the like that I publicly oppose, friends, you must know that I personally do not have anything against any person of Chabad, but rather have and continue to attack their hateful ideology that fuels that movement. So it's against ideology, not hating Jews, which is a courtesy that rabbis do not show my group. In other words, unlike other pulpit rabbis which I accuse of being puppets of their board, I do not attribute evil intentions to the shluchim of Chabad, but rather I believe that they are just theologically confused, and that's it. Unlike the ad hominem attacks made on me and my group, accusing us of actually having evil intentions. And what's the problem with Chabad's ideology? Well, mainly that they separate the world tribally instead of ethically, by classifying souls as either intrinsically superior or inferior. And it is this idea that drives the whole Chabad hashkafa. The primitive belief that blood still matters. And unfortunately, this ideology has now been adopted by the mainstream Orthodox world, which I would honestly say is one of the main reasons we're hated around the world. Not because we keep Torah, but because we believe and teach that we prefer blood over ethics, which is a concept that I have always taught and backed up with sources as something antithetical to Torah. And this is the whole reason, the sole reason why they prefer non-Jews to remain Noahides or resident aliens. Why? Because they do not want them infecting their spiritual gene pool. And another accusation on why do I make such an effort to help converts or those converting is solely on the fact that I myself am a converting, not out of some altruistic urge. Well, many fail to understand that from a Torah perspective, the ahavtam et hager, loving the convert, is one of the top 3 most important mitzvot in all the Torah that Israel's survival depends on. The other 2 are helping the widow and the orphan. I mean, honestly, when was the last time you ever seen this given any priority in the Jewish world, when we know that the Torah holds it on such a high level? The opposite is actually done. For example, when someone comes to convert, they teach that we supposedly have a law to turn them away. Not once, but at least 3 times. Friends, did you ever ask, where is this in halakha? Because the truth is that it is not there, and it is ultimately just another way of mistreating the convert. And has anyone ever accused these rabbis of making up their own form of Judaism because of this practice of deliberately breaking a Torah command? But Rabbi Asher is the one making up his own Judaism because he does not push away and even encourages them. Friends, the truth is that the job of the Jew in this world is to improve it through Torah. So how are we supposed to improve it if we are proactively hiding it from the masses? Well, on a daily basis, many religious Jews end up dropping Torah for secularism. Or you don't care and just do what your rabbi tells you. Well, that just means that you and your rabbi are moral idiots. In other words, you have people dying to leave Judaism, and at the same time, we're going to make it difficult for new adherents to come in? Again, when there is no halachic or rational reason to do so? Come on, people. Anyways, next, people accuse me of giving or even selling fake conversions. And for the record, I have never charged for a conversion. But can someone please explain to me, what is a fake conversion? What, a conversion that your rabbi is not happy with is a fake conversion? I mean, halachically, what is a fake conversion? Because the truth is, there is no such thing. They'll say that Rabbi Asher is not authorized to perform conversions. I mean, really? Can you tell me, according to halakha, what makes a Jewish person authorized to perform a conversion? And then they'll say that I'm a fake rabbi when I've even presented my documents of ordination. And yes, many of my haters have even posted them online unblurred, which blurring them was an attempt of me trying to protect these rabbis who gave it to me, being that they, because of pressure, no longer support what I do. But they still call me a fake rabbi, even after showing, again, my smicha and even what yeshiva I learned in, when almost no rabbi nowadays would share that information publicly. But only because they don't like me, they call me fake. Even when I had my own synagogue in the largest Haredi community in the southern United States and have been responsible for tens of thousands of new individuals keeping Torah and living Torah all over the world. But I'm the fake rabbi. Interesting. But anyways, friends, have you ever asked the question, does halakha teach that only a rabbi can perform a conversion? And of course, I mean rabbi with real smicha, because as you know, every rabbi today, including myself, only holds the title ceremonially. And the answer is, of course not. It specifically states that 3 hediotot, literally 3 idiots, can perform a valid conversion. Or your rabbi doesn't want to accept that, well, that's another issue. Because this rabbi is not going to make up his own Judaism. And about mass conversions, honestly, with the practice of conversions being non-existent in places like South America, you have a rabbi who pops up on the scene and offers free conversions. You better believe that people are going to flock en masse. Not that we're just there tossing anyone into the water like many claim. And I'm sure that the mainstream Jewish world would not object with such a turnaround with their kiruv efforts on secular Jews. But because it's non-Jews we're bringing to Judaism, now they have a problem with that. I wonder why. And on the same topic, many wonder why I don't encourage the keeping of the 7 laws instead of offering them Judaism, like if there was some halakha commanding me to do so. Did you know that, friends, that there is no halakha that teaches that we must encourage non-Jews to keep the 7 laws? No, rather, the halakha is that Israel is to command and coerce non-Jews to adhere to these laws under threat of death. And this is only when we are back in the land with a court. And the law actually states that nowadays we're only allowed to accept full converts. In other words, nowhere are we ever commanded to offer the Noahide laws to those who desire to convert, or as anything other than what you coerce a servant to keep under the threat of death. Shocked? Sounds a bit different than what is taught today of some peaceful rainbow covenant. Actually, it was the Lubavitcher Rebbe who spearheaded this current Noahide movement we see worldwide today, ultimately to keep non-Jews out of Judaism. In other words, if given the option of spreading something holy as opposed to something less holy, or something ethical as opposed to something less ethical, I think I will go with what actually produces the most good. And then they'll say that one should just be happy with what God made them, and really this reasoning is not brought down anywhere in Torah or Mishnaic thought, and really should just be discarded as something primitive and completely not ethically progressive at all. And when you confront them with questions like these, they'll tell you that it's not so simple. And friends, I'm here to tell you that it is, and I have proven it in my lectures many times how simple it is. However, friends, you will never see it if you never stop following these rabbis blindly. Another attack on me is that I teach against the acceptance of what is known as Kabbalah. Now, when I say acceptance, I mean stating that this is in some way either divinely inspired or halakhically or hashkafically binding in Judaism, which is what is taught today. Heck, we see that they call me a heretic for it. In other words, if someone wants to say that they personally hold that the ideas of what's found in the Zohar or even the works of the Arizal are true from a personal level and do not attack others as heretic for disregarding them, then I have no issue. But they say that anyone who disregards Kabbalah is rejecting Torah itself and should be viewed and treated like heretics. Again, when this treatment is never sanctioned or stated in any halakhic source, being that the Zohar was written in the 13th century. And honestly, my rejection is not over the basis that I and many others believe that the Zohar was not written by the Rashbi, Because even if it was written by the Rashbi, since when do individuals, even with smicha, have the authority to establish halacha outside of a court legalistic setting? Not to mention establishing metaphysical reality outside what appears in Torah Shebechtav. In other words, I have no problem considering it some obscure midrash, but the truth is that today it is placed on par with the Torah itself, especially when many of its ideas do not stem from Torah, such as reincarnation, the Sefirot, the supposed complexity of the unity of God, and the notion of the Jewish soul, just to name a few. But anyways, next they'll say, why does Rabbi Asher always attack other rabbis? And friends, I have never publicly, in any particular way, attacked any living rabbi. But regardless, you must also know that there is no notion anywhere that teaches that you cannot rebuke other rabbis in public when Torah is being desecrated. And friends, as you know, I just don't say it, but I back it up with every lecture. I explain how the Torah is being desecrated. Think about it. If we could never challenge the ideas of others, by definition, we would never grow. We would never improve. As a matter of fact, we actually have a direct mitzvah, the mitzvah of tochacha, of rebuke in Judaism. And no, only because I also hold the title rabbi does not mean that I'm in some way going to hide behind it and not let others challenge what I teach, like many do today. I mean, it's obvious that Judaism today is broken. So how can we not rebuke? Broken how? Broken by the simple fact that we have not merited to have a temple rebuilt, or that 95% of ethnic Jews are secular. All this should tell you that we're doing something wrong. Oh, but we can't blame our leaders for this, but just as they do, we have to blame the outside world. When the Torah is very clear that when Israel suffers collectively, it is always because of Israel's fault and not the nation's. But honestly, friends, what honestly bothers them the most, and what they consider the biggest attack on them, is some convert proving that he's a rabbi and telling them how it is. I guess God chose to hire outside than promote from within on this one. Because, friends, I have no axe to grind, and the reason I know what they believe is because I learned the same thing when I was in yeshiva, the same reasoning, the same throwaway lines, and then began to see things more clearly. Which is what I just don't rant about, but actually break down in all my lectures. But anyways, friends, the next supposed controversy is the lecture I gave over self-conversion. And friends, this is one video that people love to attack me on without ever clearly listening to what I'm saying in the video. First of all, I never said that people should perform a self-conversion when they have the opportunity to get a standard conversion. Actually, I said the opposite. That one should only do this if they happen to live in places like Saudi Arabia, where they would never have the possibility to convert. And no, I also did not make up the idea of self-conversion, but rather it was an opinion brought down by Tosfot and the Rosh, as well as many others. Even many Agadot by Chazal lend to the idea of self-conversion, so there's no need to attack me on it. Actually, below the actual video on YouTube, I put a link to the halachic breakdown of the notion of self-conversion. So please, mention this the next time people call me a fool and a liar for offering some hope to those who live in non-Jewish communities. It's funny how they first criticize me for converting people who don't have the ability to convert because of where they live, and then attack me for giving them a Mishnaic option for self-conversion. Friends, the truth is that those who contribute the least complain the most. In other words, if you don't want my organization to perform conversions or want people converting themselves, why don't you convert them? Oh, because you don't care to do so? You know what? Then step aside. But regardless, there's for sure no grounds to call me a liar on this issue. And friends, another idea that gets misunderstood is the idea of the Rambam-only movement, which I made popular because of my lecture explaining it. And because of that lecture, I think many have improperly labeled me a Rambamist. And friends, I in no way teach that someone must go by the Rambam's Mishnah Torah alone to live as a proper Jew, but rather only that Mishnah Torah, being the only complete work of codified halakha, is the best guide to go by, and not that I completely go by it myself. In other words, someone could just as easily go by Shulchan Aruch, the Rosh, the Torah, or even the Rif, and still be properly executing halakha from a Mishnaic perspective. The only thing is that by going by later codifications like the Shulchan Aruch or even the Mishnah Berurah, you would end up spending a lot more time filtering out the later practices that have nothing to do with halakha than you would if you just went by the Mishnah Torah. And no, friends, the earlier Dor Daim also did not completely go by the Rambam, which is a misnomer floating around the web. And when I said that one only needs a Mishnah Torah and a Chumash to be a good Jew, that's exactly what I meant, right? The Mishnah Torah and the Chumash, that's really all you need, a codified set of halakha and Torah Shebiktav. What's the problem there? Because again, the Mishnah Torah is the only complete codified guide to halakha. Now, I also believe that if you lived in a community that went solely by Shulchan Aruch, you should also hold by Shulchan Aruch, but just skip or know that you are not bound in those areas that the Machaber chose to paskin like the Zohar in, or in any other non-Mishnaic source. But regardless, the Shulchan Aruch is actually around 90% Rambam, so there's really no big issue. Not to mention that those who claim that we must go by the Shulchan Aruch also do not go by Shulchan Aruch alone. As a matter of fact, someone who went solely by the Mishnah Torah would actually end up going more by Shulchan Aruch than the average rabbi today, especially in the Ashkenazi world, who only view the Shulchan Aruch behind the lenses of the Ramah, the Alter Rebbe, and the Mishnah Berurah. And you must also know that there is no truth to the claim that only because the majority of the Jewish world has accepted the Shulchan Aruch that you are in some way demanded to hold by it. But truth be told, that the fact remains that in Judaism, someone who paskins outside of Chazal and teaches others to do so is a heretic. So just remember that when you're accusing us of heresy. And friends, you must know that the reason I'm even bothering to make this lecture is that there are many people, instead of publicly challenging what I teach, choose to defame me and have even gone as far as to post pictures of my family and details about my personal life on the net. I mean, really, you would be surprised how low these people actually stoop. And friends, I've never claimed to be the smartest person around or ever claimed that I do not ever make mistakes. Or I understand that perhaps my delivery may also be a little unorthodox or a bit abrasive. But just know that this is just the way I get the message across the clearest. And know that my goal is never to sell you Rabbi Asher, but rather the purest Torah that I can. And you know what? I will never stop doing this. So for more information on everything Jewish and for more information on me, Rabbi Asher, please visit bejewish.org. Thank you.